Kiana Roberts never imagined her faith would lead her into the shadows. At 22, she was trying to find her footing in Chicago's South Side, working as a medical assistant by day and taking nursing classes at night. For as long as she could remember, New Hope Baptist Church had been her refuge, a place where the chaos of city life seemed to fade into the background. Sunday mornings at New Hope always brought comfort. The familiar smiles, the soul-stirring gospel music, the sense of belonging. It felt like home. But 3 months ago, everything shifted when Pastor Marcus Grant took over after the retirement of the beloved Pastor Henderson. Marcus was different. At 38, he was younger, magnetic, with modern preaching style that drew new faces into the pews every week. His sermons were fiery, his voice ringing with conviction. God wants you to rise up, claim what's yours. Kiana found herself clinging to his messages. She had lost her mother to cancer 2 years earlier, and with her father working long hours driving city buses, she needed the hope he offered. She began volunteering more, joining the youth outreach program, where Pastor Marcus quickly took an interest in her. "You got a gift for reaching people," he told her after watching her work with teens one evening. "God bless you with a healing spirit." His words warmed her. For the first time since her mother's death, she felt seen, truly seen, by someone who seemed to understand her pain and potential. What Kiana didn't realize was that Marcus had noticed something else, her vulnerability. The first time he rested his hand on her shoulder during prayer, she thought nothing of it. When his palm lingered on her lower back as he guided her through the church office, she brushed it off as her imagination. But when the late-night text began, shifting from spiritual guidance to personal compliments, a quiet alarm began to sound in her mind. "You look beautiful today. That blue dress brings out the light in your eyes. God really took his time with you." Kiana stared at her phone, unsure how to respond. Was this normal for a pastor? She showed the text to her best friend, Tasha, whose frown deepened. "That's not okay, Ki. My uncle's a deacon. He'd never send a message like that to a young woman in his congregation." But Kiana wanted to believe the best of Marcus. Maybe he was just being kind. Maybe she was overthinking it. She was wrong. It was a quiet Tuesday evening in the church office. Kiana had stayed late to organize food drive forms, the main sanctuary lights off, shadows stretching across the hallway. Only the small desk lamp lit her workspace. "Still here?" Marcus's deep voice startled her. He stood in the doorway, his tall frame outlined by dim light. "Just finishing these forms," Kiana replied politely, stacking papers neatly. "I'll be done in a few minutes." He stepped inside and shut the door. "No rush. I like seeing dedicated people like you putting in extra time for the Lord's work." Something about the closed door made her uneasy. Marcus moved closer, leaning against her desk so she could smell his expensive, woody cologne. "You know, Kiana, I've been watching you," he said in a lower tone. "You have something special, a light that draws people in." "Thank you, Pastor," she replied, eyes fixed on the papers. "Please, when it's just us, call me Marcus." His fingers brushed her wrist. "I think you and I could have a deeper connection than just pastor and congregation member." Kiana froze. The cold touch on her skin made her pull away under the guise of reaching for her water bottle. "I should get going. My dad will be wondering where I am." Marcus straightened, smiling in that professional way again. "Of course, but think about what I said. God brings certain people together for a reason." That night, Kiana couldn't sleep. The conversation played over and over in her mind. Was she imagining things? Or was this how pastors mentored young members? The next day at work, she told her co-worker Leah, leaving out his name. "Girl, that's not mentoring," Leah said flatly. "Pastor or not, he's crossing lines." Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus's attention grew bolder. He found reasons to be alone with her, calling her to private prayer sessions, asking for help with sermon prep, having her organize his office. During one of those prayer sessions, his hand slid from her shoulder to her lower back. Then lower still, Kiana jumped to her feet, knocking over a chair. "Pastor Marcus, I don't think this is appropriate," she said, her voice shaking. His expression darkened for a second before softening into mock concern. "Kiana, This is just brotherly love in Christ. Don't confuse spiritual connection with something worldly. The manipulation was becoming painfully clear. He was twisting Faith into a weapon to make her doubt herself. That Sunday after service, she waited until most of the congregation had left, then walked up to him in the empty sanctuary. "Pastor Marcus, I need to speak with you," she began. "Of course, Kiana. What's on your heart?" "I need you to stop texting me personally and touching me. It's not appropriate for someone in your position." His smile didn't fade, but his eyes hardened. "You're misunderstanding my intentions. As your spiritual leader, it's my job to show care and concern." "This goes beyond pastoral care," she pressed. "I'm asking you to stop." Marcus stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Do you know how many women in this church would be honored to get the kind of attention I give you? You should be grateful I see something special in you." Instead of respecting her boundaries, he left her feeling guilty for setting them. What Kiana didn't know was that she wasn't the first, or the only, young woman to draw his predatory interest. But Marcus didn't know Kiana had her own secret. 6 months earlier, she'd been diagnosed with Morgellons disease, a rare, controversial condition that baffled most doctors. It began with strange fibers emerging from sores and a crawling sensation under her skin. Most physicians dismissed her symptoms as anxiety, but specialists at Northwestern Memorial finally took her seriously. "This condition isn't fully understood," Dr. Danielle Rhodes explained. "We suspect it's a parasitic infection combined with an unusual immune response. In rare cases, it can be transmitted through intimate contact." Kiana was horrified. "Like an STD?" "Not exactly, but yes, in rare cases, parasites can travel through mucous membranes during intimacy. We've seen partners show symptoms within days." Treatment was working. A strict regimen of antibiotics, antiparasitics, and immune modulators had halted her symptoms. No more crawling sensations, no new sores. But Dr. Rhodes had warned her, "Until we're certain the parasites are gone, avoid intimate contact. You could still pass this on." This was another reason Pastor Marcus's advances disturbed Kiana so deeply. Not only were they unwanted and inappropriate, if he somehow got his way, she could potentially pass her condition on to him. No one at church knew about her diagnosis. The stigma and confusion surrounding Morgellons made her keep it to herself. Most people believed it was psychological, not physical. How could she explain that she carried parasites capable of causing horrifying symptoms in others? 3 days after Kiana confronted Marcus, he called a special prayer meeting for the youth leadership team. Only 5 people were invited, and she was one of them. She thought about skipping it, but worried that her absence would draw questions. Maybe if she stayed near the others, she could avoid any awkward moments. The meeting began normally enough. Gathered in the church conference room, they prayed for guidance and discussed upcoming youth events. But as they wrapped up, Marcus made an announcement. "Before we leave, I need some help organizing donations in the storage room. Kiana, since you've been managing the food drive, would you mind staying to assist me?" Her stomach tightened. "Actually, Pastor, I have a night class in an hour. I should really go." "This won't take long," he insisted, his tone brooking no argument. "The rest of you can head out. Thank you for your dedication." As the others left, Tasha shot her a concerned look. Kiana gave a subtle shake of her head, silently telling her she was fine. When they were alone, Marcus's demeanor shifted. "You've been avoiding me." "I've been busy with work and school," she replied, keeping her distance. He stepped closer. "I've been thinking about our last conversation. You misunderstood me. I care about you as more than just a member of my congregation. Pastor Marcus, I meant what I said. Your attention makes me uncomfortable, and I'd like you to stop." His eyes hardened. "Do you know what happens to young women who make false accusations against men of God? Nobody believes them. They get labeled troublemakers, temptresses, trying to tear down righteous men." The threat was unmistakable. "I'm not accusing you of anything," she said carefully. "I'm asking for professional boundaries. And I'm telling you God brought us together for a purpose." He reached for her hand. "Don't fight what's meant to be." Kiana backed up, bumping into a shelf of canned goods. "I need to go." He caught her arm. You're making a mistake, Kiana. I can make things very difficult for you here. Your father still needs that church assistance program for his medical bills, doesn't he? The mention of her father's situation, a private prayer request she'd once shared, hit her like a slap. Marcus was using her family's vulnerability as leverage. She yanked her arm free. That's between my family and God. Nothing in this church happens without my approval, he said coldly. Nothing. That night, Kiana left the church trembling with anger and fear. Her father's medical assistance wasn't something she could risk. After her mother's death, he'd fallen into depression, battling high blood pressure and diabetes. The church's program covered medications their insurance wouldn't. At home, she found him asleep in his recliner, a half-eaten TV dinner beside him. The worry lines on his face seemed deeper than ever. She felt trapped. Kiana called Tasha, telling her everything except her medical condition. You need to report him, Tasha urged. This is spiritual abuse and sexual harassment. To who? He's the head pastor. The deacon board adores him. And now he's threatening my dad's medical help. Then get evidence. Record him. Document everything. You can't let him get away with this. Kiana knew she was right. But taking on Marcus meant risking her community support system and her father's care. Over the next 2 weeks, the pressure escalated. The texts became more frequent, more explicit. Marcus found reasons to touch her during church events. Twice, he cornered her alone, each time more aggressive. She began recording their conversations, documenting each inappropriate text before deleting from her phone, and keeping a journal of every unwanted comment or touch. But the stress was wearing her down. Sleepless nights, slipping grades, and a painful return of her Morgellon symptoms. New sores appeared on her arms and back. The crawling sensations returned at night. At her next appointment, Dr. Rhodes noticed immediately. Your condition's flaring up. Stress can trigger it. What's going on, Kiana? Through tears, she described the harassment, without naming Marcus. This is sexual harassment, and it's harming your health, Dr. Rhodes said firmly. You need to remove yourself from the situation. I can't just leave my church. My whole support system's there, and my dad's medication. Then you need to report this man. What he's doing isn't just inappropriate, it's predatory. Kiana nodded. She almost had enough evidence. One more recording of him stating his intentions, and she could take it to board, or even the police. She didn't expect him to set a trap first. That Sunday, Marcus stood at the pulpit, announcing a special blessing for college students and young professionals. Education is the key to our community's future. Next Sunday, we'll announce 10 scholarships for deserving young people in our congregation. After service, he approached her with 2 deacons beside him. Kiana, could you help me finalize the scholarship details? Your perspective as a student would be valuable. With others watching, she couldn't refuse. Of course, Pastor. They set a meeting for Wednesday evening. Kiana decided this would be her chance to get a clear, recorded statement. When the day came, she slipped her phone into her pocket, already recording. She told Tasha where she'd be and to call if she didn't check in within an hour. Marcus was waiting in his office, surprisingly professional at first, reviewing scholarship applications with her for nearly 30 minutes. She began to wonder if this was purely business, until he closed the folder and locked the door. Now that business is done, we can talk about us. Her pulse spiked. There is no us, Pastor Marcus. I've been clear. He moved around the desk. Too close. I've been patient. I've given you time to see this as God's will, but my patience is running out. She kept him talking. What exactly are you suggesting? I'm suggesting a woman. Like, you shouldn't waste her time on boys her age. You need a real man, someone established, someone who can take care of you. And that's you? Of course it's me, he said, brushing her cheek with his hand. One night with me, and you'll see this is God's plan. Plus, I can double your father's medical assistance and make sure you get one of these scholarships. She stepped back, and if I say no, his face darkened. Then maybe the church needs to reconsider who deserves assistance. Resources are limited. So you're threatening to cut off my father's help if I don't sleep with you? I wouldn't call it a threat, just a reality of choices and consequences. That was enough. She had her evidence. I need to think about this. Don't think too long. Scholarship announcements are Sunday. Assistance reviews are monthly. As she reached for the door, he blocked her path. One more thing. Kiana, I know you've been recording our conversations. Her blood ran cold. Before she could react, he reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. The recording app glowed on the screen. Did you really think I would notice? Pastor Marcus Grant held up Kiana's phone, stopping the recording and deleting it right in front of her. I've dealt with troublemakers before. Women who try to drag down men of God out of spite, jealousy, or for attention. Sliding the phone into his pocket, he added, I'll keep this for now. Consider it insurance against any foolish ideas. Panic clawed its way up Kiana's chest. Give me back my phone. You can have it Sunday, if you've made the right decision by then. I expect you at my house, Saturday night, 8 o'clock sharp. He scribbled an address on a slip of paper and shoved it into her hand. Come alone, and we can put this unpleasantness behind us. With her phone gone and her evidence erased, Kiana left the church feeling more trapped than ever. Over the next 2 days, she wrestled with fear and fury. Without her phone, she couldn't call Tasha or anyone else for help. She used her school's computer lab to email her friend, explaining everything. But Tasha was in Detroit visiting family and wouldn't be back until Monday. The police crossed her mind, but what proof did she have now? It would be her word against his, a respected pastor. While she carried a controversial medical condition most people dismissed as all in her head. Telling her father wasn't an option either. His health was too fragile. Any added stress could trigger another crisis. And if Pastor Marcus kept his threats, they'd lose the financial assistance they depended on. By Saturday morning, Kiana felt cornered. She went to her scheduled treatment with Dr. Danielle Rhodes, hoping for some guidance. He took your evidence. Dr. Rhodes' face darkened. Kiana, this man is dangerous. You need to stay far away from him. If I don't go, he'll cut off my dad's help. And now here's my phone, personal messages, photos, everything. Dr. Rhodes was silent for a moment before speaking again. Your condition is somewhat managed right now, but it's still transmissible through intimate contact. If he's coercing you, Kiana caught the implication. You're saying if I go through with it, he could get it? I'm saying as your doctor, I forbid intimate contact during treatment. It could be dangerous for any partner. But I understand you're in an impossible position. Dr. Rhodes sighed. If you truly feel you have no choice, at least protect yourself. She handed Kiana a prescription. These antibiotics are stronger. They won't cure you, but they might lower the chance of transmission. Take them before you go. Kiana left feeling sick to her stomach. Was she really considering this? Was she really thinking about weaponizing her illness against someone, even someone like him? By evening, she made her decision. She would go, but not to give in. She'd confront him, demand her phone back, and warn him she'd go public no matter the fallout. She dressed simply, jeans, a sweater, and slipped her father's gift, a small canister of pepper spray, into her pocket. She wouldn't use it unless she had to, but its weight gave her confidence. At 7:50 p.m., Kiana stood outside Pastor Marcus Mata's bungalow. The place looked perfectly ordinary. Curtains drawn, warm light glowing inside. You'd never guess what kind of man lived there. Marcus opened the door wearing jeans and a button-down shirt, a smile on his face that didn't touch his eyes. Kiana, glad you came to your senses. She stepped inside. The house was neat, sparsely decorated, with a few religious paintings and old family photos. Can I get you a drink? He asked, leading her to the living room. No, I just want my phone back. He chuckled, always so direct. That's what I like about you. He patted the sofa beside him. Sit, we have things to discuss. There's nothing to discuss, she said firmly, remaining standing. What you're doing is harassment and blackmail. I want my phone, and I want you to leave me alone. His expression hardened. Sit down, Kiana. No, if you don't stop this, I'll go public, to the church board, the congregation, even the police. He rose slowly, towering over her. With what evidence? Your word against mine? Who do you think they'll believe? They might believe multiple women. She shot back. I know I'm not the first. A flicker of doubt passed over his face. You're bluffing. Am I? Women talk, Pastor. We warn each other about men like you. She'd found 2 women who hinted at bad encounters with him, though neither would go on record. Suddenly, Marcus grabbed her arm, his fingers digging in. You think you're clever? Playing detective? You have no idea who you're dealing with. Let me go. Not until you understand your father's medication, your place in the church, your reputation. I control it all. One word from me and your life crumbles. Better that than letting you keep doing this to other women, she said, fear giving way to anger. You're supposed to protect your congregation, not prey on them. Her words seemed to ignite something in him. He shoved her against the wall, face inches from hers. Don't you dare preach to me. I built that church. I brought in more people, more donations than anyone. I deserve some reward. Is that what I am? A reward. You're whatever I say you are. His hand brushed her cheek, making her skin crawl. This can be easy, pleasant even, or very, very difficult. Your choice. As his hand moved lower, Kiana's decision was made. She yanked the pepper spray from her pocket and fired it directly into his face. Marcus screamed, releasing her as he clawed at his eyes, stumbling into a side table. You little! Kiana bolted, spotting her phone on a desk along with a small notebook. She grabbed both and ran for the door. You're finished at eternal light. Finished! He yelled blindly as she fled into the night. A few blocks away, she stopped to catch her breath. The texts and recordings were gone, but Marcus didn't know she'd backed up most of it to cloud. With shaking hands, she called Tasha, who answered on the 3rd ring. I got your email. What's going on? I need help. Can you come get me? I'm near 47th and Evans. I'm still in Detroit, but I'll have my cousin pick you up. Stay somewhere public. Kiana found a bright diner and waited. 20 minutes later, a tall, serious man approached. Tasha said you're in trouble. Brandon said simply, you can stay as long as you need. That night, in Brandon's spare room, Kiana looked through what she'd taken. The notebook was a predator's playbook, names, numbers, addresses, and personal details of young women, including her own. She had enough to act. But first, she needed rest. What she didn't know was that Pastor Marcus was also having a long night, eyes burning from pepper spray, fury boiling inside him. He was already planning how to ruin her. But by Sunday morning, something else caught his attention. A burning when he urinated, followed by white flecks in the toilet. Probably stress, he told himself, pushing it aside. That day, he preached about wolves in sheep's clothing, never knowing his own downfall had already begun. By evening, the burning sensation had worsened, the white flecks now larger and plainly visible. When one of them twitched on its own in the toilet bowl, Pastor Marcus felt the first ripple of real fear. He called Dr. Danielle Rhodes, a trusted church member who had quietly treated him for other personal issues before. I need to see you tonight. It's urgent. Danielle agreed to meet him at her office after hours. What she found left her visibly unsettled. Pastor, I've never encountered anything like this, she said, studying a sample under the microscope. These look like the larval stage of some parasite. You have an infestation in your urinary tract. Marcus's stomach turned. What kind of parasite? I'm not sure, she admitted. Nothing I've seen in any standard medical reference. How long have you been experiencing this? Since this morning, he lied, unwilling to tie the symptoms to his tense confrontation with Kiana the night before. Danielle prescribed strong antibiotics and antiparasitic medication. I'll consult with a specialist, she told him. In the meantime, watch your symptoms. If things worsen, go straight to the ER. Marcus filled the prescriptions immediately and, in his panic, took twice the recommended dose. But by morning, the agony had intensified. The burning was unbearable, and the organisms, now undeniably alive, were larger and more numerous. Alone in his bathroom, he inspected one that emerged during urination. Under the stark light, it writhed. A pale, maggot-like creature, no bigger than a grain of rice, yet alive. His panic sharpened. This wasn't natural. His phone rang. Pastor, Danielle said, I've spoken to a specialist at Northwestern. She wants to see you right away. This condition is extremely rare. Something called Morgellons disease complicated by a secondary parasitic infection. Marcus barely heard the rest. The words extremely rare repeated in his mind. As he drove toward the hospital, a thought struck him. Kiana had been absent from church now and then over recent months. She'd mentioned medical appointments. Could she have been carrying this? By the time he reached Northwestern Memorial, the pain was so intense he could hardly walk. The specialist, Dr. Anita Reynolds, waited in a private exam room. Pastor Grant, she said, her tone professional but distant. I understand you're experiencing unusual symptoms. As Marcus described what was happening, he watched her face. She didn't look surprised, only confirming his suspicions. Have you had close contact with anyone who might have this condition? She asked. Morgellons is rare and poorly understood, she explained. In certain cases, it involves a parasitic element that can be transmitted through close contact. Do you think you've been exposed? I may have been, he said vaguely, thinking of Kiana, thinking of the night he tried to force intimacy. Had she known? Had she come to his home deliberately to infect him? What Marcus didn't realize was that Dr. Reynolds was Kiana's physician. She recognized the connection immediately, but was bound by confidentiality. She had, however, already alerted hospital administration about the ethical conflict of treating both parties in what could be a sexual misconduct case. The treatment is long and uncomfortable, she warned, and in advanced cases, recovery isn't guaranteed. Marcus barely heard her. Rage was rising, at Kiana, at the doctors, at the creatures inside him. He told himself this couldn't happen to him. He was a man of God. He was protected. As Dr. Reynolds prepared her examination, Marcus made a decision. He would make Kiana pay. What he didn't know was that security had already been alerted and a report was on its way to the police. Monday morning brought turbulence to Eternal Light Baptist Church. Pastor Marcus didn't show for the staff meeting. Calls went unanswered. Concerned, the secretary drove to his home. His car was gone, and no one answered the door. Meanwhile, Kiana had spent Sunday gathering courage and evidence. With Tasha's support, she organized everything. The backed-up text messages, her journal entries, and the notebook she'd taken from Marcus's office, containing a list of potential victims. That morning, she walked into the Chicago Police Department's 3rd District Station and asked to file charges against Pastor Marcus for sexual harassment, blackmail, and assault. Detective Lisa Coleman of the Special Victims Unit took her statement, her expression growing graver by the minute. You did the right thing, Coleman said. Predators count on silence and shame to protect them. Kiana slid the notebook across the desk. There are other women listed here. I think they have stories too. We'll need to reach out, Coleman assured her. Some might come forward now that someone's broken the silence. Kiana left the station feeling lighter. Whatever happened next, she had reclaimed her voice. What she didn't know was that Marcus had signed himself out of Northwestern against medical advice. The infection was spreading fast, not just in his body, but in his mind. The toxins were warping his thoughts, making him paranoid and unstable. In his twisted logic, Kiana had plotted this from the start, earning his trust, then using her illness to destroy him. He drove for hours, pain mounting, washing down more pills with whiskey. By nightfall, he had a plan. Confront Kiana one last time. Force her to admit what she'd done. Then make her pay. Near midnight, he arrived at the small apartment she shared with her father, Henry Roberts. He pounded on the door, waking them both. Henry cracked it open with the chain still on. Pastor Grant, what are you doing here at this hour? I need to see Kiana, Marcus slurred, pale and sweating. She knows what she did to me. My daughter's asleep, Henry said firmly. This can wait until morning. It can't wait, Marcus shouted, shoving the door. She infected me, put these things inside me. Henry's expression shifted from confusion to alarm. You need to leave. Now. Kiana appeared in the hallway, her face tightening with fear. Seeing her, Marcus's agitation spiked. You knew, didn't you? This was your plan all along. Call the police? Henry told his daughter. As Kiana moved toward the phone, Marcus's desperation boiled over. He slammed against the door until the chain snapped. Storming inside, Henry stepped in front of him. You need to leave my home right now. Marcus shoved him with shocking force, sending him crashing into a side table. Henry groaned in pain as his head struck the edge. Dad. Kiana dropped to his side, but Marcus advanced. Tell me how to stop it, he demanded. Tell me how to get them out of me. Kiana helped her father sit up, then turned to face Marcus. I tried to warn you, she said, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. I told you to stop. I told you to leave me alone. You did this on purpose. You're the devil's handmaiden, he accused, swaying unsteadily. I have Morgellons disease, Kiana said clearly, wanting her father to understand. It's a parasitic infection. I've been receiving treatment. Dr. Rhodes warned me it could spread through intimate contact. Henry looked baffled. Kiana, what is he talking about? What happened between you two? Marcus let out a bitter laugh. Tell him, Kiana. Tell your father how you seduced his pastor, how you used your illness as a weapon. That's not what happened, Kiana said firmly. He's been harassing me for weeks, threatening to cut off Dad's medical assistance if I didn't sleep with him. I filed a police report this morning. I have evidence. Henry pushed himself to his feet, his expression darkening. You threatened my daughter? You tried to force yourself on her. Marcus ignored him, his gaze fixed on Kiana. Fix this, he demanded. Tell me how to stop. These things are eating me alive. There's no quick fix, Kiana replied. You need to go back to the hospital. Dr. Rhodes can help you. Without warning, Marcus lunged forward and grabbed her throat. You did this to me. You'll undo it, or I swear to God. He never finished. Henry Robertson, despite his frail health, found the strength to rip Marcus away from his daughter and slam him against the wall. Don't you touch my child, Henry roared, years of protective instinct overriding his physical weakness. Marcus slumped to the floor, the burst of violence draining the last of his energy. The pain tearing through his body was unbearable now, and he could feel the parasites multiplying, feeding. Sirens wailed in the distance. A neighbor, alarmed by the shouting, had called 911. You've ruined me, Marcus whispered, looking at Kiana with hatred and fear. You've destroyed everything. You did this to yourself, she said, hands trembling but voice steady. I warned you. Police burst through the open door, weapons drawn. They quickly took in the scene. Henry shielding his daughter, Marcus collapsed and sweating heavily. He broke in, Henry said. He attacked my daughter. As officers approached, one recoiled at the sight of a dark stain spreading across Marcus's pants, and a faint, sickening movement within. Tiny white organisms writhed in the damp fabric. Sir, we need to get you medical attention, one officer said, keeping his distance. Marcus looked down, horror dawning. They're coming out of me. They're everywhere now. An ambulance arrived minutes later. The paramedics, warned of possible contagion, donned extra protective gear before loading him onto a stretcher. Detective Coleman arrived just as Marcus was taken away. She had been alerted when the 911 call matched the address of the woman who had filed a report against Pastor Marcus Grant earlier that day. Are you all right? She asked Kiana, noting the red marks on her neck. He came here demanding I fix him, Kiana said. He's infected with the same disease I have. I told him to stay away. Coleman's eyes softened. We'll need statement from both of you, and you should get checked at the hospital. Will he go to jail? Henry asked, holding his daughter close. Based on what I've seen, plus the evidence Kiana provided earlier, he'll be facing serious charges. Breaking and entering, assault, attempted coercion, blackmail. The list is growing, Coleman assured him. By morning, news of Pastor Grant's breakdown had spread to the church community, though his medical condition was kept quiet. At Northwestern Memorial, Dr. Rhodes oversaw his care. The parasites had invaded his urinary tract and were spreading to other systems. His prognosis was grim, months of aggressive treatment with no guarantee of recovery. In the days that followed, Coleman's investigation uncovered a pattern of predatory behavior stretching back years. 3 other women from Eternal Light Baptist came forward with similar stories. 2 former members from Marcus's old congregation in Indiana contacted police with nearly identical accounts. Faced with mounting evidence, the church board voted unanimously to remove him. They issued a public apology to the victims and promised reforms to prevent such abuses in the future. For Kiana, relief was mixed with guilt. During a follow-up appointment, she confessed as much to Dr. Rhodes. "You have nothing to feel guilty about," Dr. Rhodes told her firmly. "You warned him. His choices led to these consequences." "But if I had spoken up sooner," Kiana began. "Predators count on that kind of self-doubt," Rhodes said. "You broke the silence. You've probably saved others from what you went through." 6 weeks later, Marcus remained hospitalized. His condition stabilized but not improving. His infection had caused permanent kidney and urinary tract damage, and he faced ongoing medical care for life. 7 women were now pressing charges. Eternal Light began to heal. A compassionate interim pastor established support groups and restructured the medical assistance program, so it could never again be used as leverage. Kiana's health improved under treatment. She pushed forward with her nursing studies, more determined than ever to work in medicine. 3 months after Marcus's removal, she returned to church for the first time. She walked in nervously, unsure of her welcome, but women immediately approached her, thanking her for her courage. "My daughter was on his list," one said, squeezing her hand. "You saved her." Another nodded. "He was grooming my niece. We didn't see it until you spoke out." Tasha slipped beside her, linking arms. "Told you people would understand." The interim pastor took the pulpit. "Today, we continue our journey of healing. We commit to protecting the vulnerable, and we recognize someone here whose courage in the face of abuse reminds us that truth, even when costly, is sacred." Kiana felt tears sting her eyes as the congregation turned toward her with respect rather than judgment. Her father squeezed her hand, pride written across his face. The service ended, and Kiana stepped into the sunlight. For the first time in months, the weight on her shoulders felt lighter. Marcus had tried to weaponize her faith against her, but in the end, that same faith had given her the strength to stand. The church would heal. She would heal, and others would be spared because she refused to remain silent. Across town, Marcus lay in his hospital bed, the parasite still present despite treatment. What had been a manageable condition for Kiana had become, through his own actions, the physical embodiment of his corruption. It would eat away at him long after the courts delivered their judgment. Some called it divine justice. Others called it consequence. For Kiana, it was simply the closing of one chapter, and the beginning of another, where her voice could never be silenced again. If this story made you think, made you question, made you wonder, what would you have done? Subscribe for more gripping, real-life stories that challenge everything you think you know. Because in the end, truth is always stranger than fiction. Join the journey. Hit that button and be part of the next stories. This is Ruthless Realities. Until next time.